bum, bum. We are back, and we are going to have a... Thank you. Everybody's in a good mood tonight.
Oh, I
Is there a
feel
full moon?
Wonderful. Yeah, yes, there is. It's coming in 2 more days.
Aha. That's it. You can always tell. People get on edge or a little funky during a full moon.
Yeah.
Crazy and wild, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's as good as excuse as any, I guess.
All right, ladies, we got a big lineup tonight. If you just joined us, I've mentioned George Siegel, Teresa Brewer, Monty Rock, Elliot Gould, and this gentleman. Some of you may be familiar with him from the Bob Newhart show. If not, you can see Bob starting tomorrow night for 4 weeks at the Frontier in Las Vegas, where he's appearing with Paul Williams, Ray Stevens. If you have the misfortune of missing him there, he will also be appearing at Harrah's starting August the 6th. He will also be in our lobby right after the show, selling jams and jellies and homemade fudge. Would you welcome Mr. Robert Newhart?
I mean, you made it sound like that's the only reason I'm here is because I'm going to Vegas for 4 weeks with Ray Stevens and Paul Williams and then Harris for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks. You go there after Las Vegas.
I was going to play him at the same time, but it's so hard to get a plane back and forth.
No, I don't think the only reason you come on the show is to do some cheap, not cheap plugs, but I mean some, just to announce your itinerary, that you would be that mercenary about it. I assume that you come here just to...
Also, I've been on with almost every substitute host, except you, and I felt I should come on and say hi. And that's really all I would like to do, is just say hi and leave.
And get out of here.
That's possible.
Now that you've got the plugs out of it. No, I think the least you can do is stay a few minutes and...
Well, it's a dog-eat-dog business, John. You know.
Did you hear that ovation?
I mean, there's a saying, as you know, in our business, you be nice to people on the way up because you run into the same people on the way down, which happens to be false. You run into entirely different people on the way down.
Yeah.
So there's little point in being nice to people on the way up.
That's right. I say smash. Whoever gets in your way, walk over them right to the time. Well, you've never had that in your career, though. You've always been up there, right?
Oh no, there was a brief period.
When your show went off the air.
Yeah.
The original show on CBS.
First show, yeah. No, on NBC.
Yeah. I know the feeling. That's happened to me also. And it is strange, isn't
Well,
it?
it hasn't happened in 12 years.
Well, no, I've been lucky enough to have this.
Lucky's a good word.
I guess it'll do.
We've seen some of the specials, in America and myself. I sure wouldn't leave this button.
No, I got it made.
Some people, it's like a game show MC. I mean, you're destined to do one thing the rest of your life, and this is pretty much it for you.
At least you don't ring a bell and run over and say honk and do a horn thing. I mean, you know. Did you ever do a game show? Never had one of those, huh?
No. I was offered one during that twilight or the valley of my career, which was not that bad. It beat being an accountant.
That's right, which you used to be.
Which I used to be, yes. That's why I said it beat.
Do you still keep your own books? I mean,
no, I really
good
don't.
Enough to,
I'm really not that good at it. I wish I were. It is so involved. I try to nod. I have an accountant, and he explains to me about, I don't know, tax things, and I try to nod knowingly, but I have no idea what he's talking about. It's like a foreign tongue.
Yeah, I'm not good at that either. You mentioned you're working with Ray Stevens and who...
Well, I'm doing 2 weeks with Paul Williams and then 2 weeks with Ray Stevens.
You usually go on with a pretty girl singer, don't you?
Yes, I worked with Teresa, who's on tonight.
Oh, she sounds like her.
I don't, I worked with Paul before. I've never worked with Ray before. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not, they're kind of, well, at least Ray is country and Western, which I'm really not, I'm not into that.
Don't you dig that?
Well, I enjoy it. I just, I don't understand people. I'm from Chicago, but I have relatives from Kentucky. I don't understand people at all from Louisiana and Georgia. I have no idea what they're talking about.
Don't understand anything.
I was in the Army with a guy named Gus Broussard from
That's got to be Louisiana.
Campty, Louisiana. And
Is he a Cajun?
Cajun, and we had the bunk next to each other, and every day he'd wake up. He spoke to me for 2 years in the Army. To this day, I haven't the slightest idea what he was saying.
That's funny you mentioned that because I said Cajun right away because I used to know a fellow because I was stationed for a while in Jackson, Mississippi, and I had a guy, I haven't heard from him in 20-some years, Manu Arsenault.
Manu, well, he's probably a good friend of Gus's.
Gus's Broussard, the same thing, and they do have a rhythm in the speech that is...
Well, he would say, "Drill, dogs, me all the hour rest, and you say, damn right, Gus, boy, that's so true.
Everybody's doing that. Wow.
Right. Stay on, blab. It sounds like a tape going backwards or something. If he had been Paul Revere, we would still be under British rule. He would have written through Boston like, "Bell Downs, my rail,
Jim Bell, yeah. What? Presley has a little of that, doesn't he? Oh.
You know what, I don't mean to offend Doc, because I know this is, and I guess if
That's
you're
all right.
raised-
That's what he's here for.
Well, I guess. I was trying to be nice.
Of course.
Everyone offends Doc, so why should I be? Especially with numero uno, not even a substitute host. The country and western songs, and I'm going to offend a lot of people, but I must say it. I think it's one song. They changed the title, but it's the same song. The dog died and the wife left, and I'm so lonely, and yeah, and that's...
You won't go, man.
Look out now.
What? You must get in.
We may have a hit right now.
No.
Just what we
We
did.
just keep doing this. Well, then, cup of coffee, railroad. You get those in. If you get railroad shack, cup of coffee, or prison in the song. So if you said, "Hey, a cup of coffee, railroad track going by prison farm," you got a hit. Look out! Look out! Wow, she left me. Johnny Cash will probably show up tomorrow night and break our face for saying that, because he's raw. He's.
I heard that.
I wouldn't fool with Johnny Cash.
Well, I don't plan to.
What'd you do in the service? You mentioned being in the army. You were in the army.
Yes, our Army.
Yes, on our side. I know
Our
that.
side, yes. I was in the Korean War. I was a clerk typist. I'm not going to lie about it.
No, I wasn't trying to embarrass you. We need clerk typists. I mean, we do. You could type up my discharge when I was getting out of the front
You
line.
could get
That's
a
probably what
nasty
you did.
paper cut that would smart for a week.
Yeah.
But that's not the important thing. I guess we all served and tried to do our thing.
Of course we did. How long did you go in as a private?
I was drafted, which I'm
I see.
extremely proud of.
They came and got you, is what you're trying to
They got
say.
me, and 2 years later, I left. And as I was leaving, they followed up my number. It was 5-6 instead of 5-5, and I was afraid to say anything for fear that there's some remote regulation that if they follow up your number, you can spend 2 more years in the Army. So I didn't say a thing. It was not one of my... looking back, as I think World War II, most people, it was a marvelous experience. I'm glad I did it, but I hated every minute of it.
Didn't care for it.
Didn't care. During the Korean War, it was not the one that all the people voted the benefits down on. That's the one I was in.
You got no benefits?
You were in the big one.
Yes, you're right about that. That was in the paper.
Yeah.
I'll read the big one. Did you go to school on the GI Bill when you got out?
Yes.
I didn't know. Well, you got that then.
Yeah, we got that. Punch.
Come out here. I know, go see. Now, a word from Toyota, small car specialist for 40 years. We are back.
I must say that the band has never sounded better.
That's true. That's true. You mentioned now you've been here when somebody's been sitting in as a guest host. You haven't hosted here for a while.
No, I haven't. I did it for a while, as you know.
Yes.
And it's I'm not going to go through that whole thing about how tough it is, but it is an extremely tough job. I was only there for 3 weeks, so to be there for a long time is really, you have my admiration. I'm not going to bore people with that.
Well, you're not boring me.
It is a very extremely tough job, and Freddie has been kind enough to ask me to do it again, and when I have weeks off from the show, that's not one of my favorite things, because, I mean, it is a very tough job. I was hosting one time, you were off for some reason. You didn't feel like doing it, I guess. That's what they told me. You didn't feel like doing it this week. No one could reach you. They didn't want, he was in Florida or something. And Jenny, it was in New York, and I called my wife, Jenny. And I call her Jenny anyway, but I called her on the phone, and I said, what happened?
How else would you?
I would speak every night to Jenny. And she said, I broke my toe. And I said, well, what'd you do? She said, I was in the shower, and I tripped and broke my toe. And I said, well, what did you do about it? And she said, I called a doctor, and he said, well, try to stay off it as much as you can.
Good.
And try not to bump into things with it. And I said, what did that cost? And she said, $50. And I said, you could have stopped a wino in the street and said, I just broke my toe, and he would have given virtually the same advice. Try to stay off it and try not to bump into things. And I got a note from a doctor, and he said, I know it sounds strange, that kind of advice, but you have to understand that patients are strange also. And he explained to me that they, sometimes before surgery, patients have to take an enema, and it comes in a plastic square container. And doctors found it necessary to print on the outside of the square plastic container that they should remove it before using it. Remove it from the plastic square container before using it. Because they were getting patients coming in with strange expressions on their faces.
Eyes crossed.
I just sort of evening it up with doctors. I wasn't making fun of doctors, but I guess they have their problems too.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I know what you're talking about, but there's a...
It's inside the plastic. Do you have a paper or something?
No,
I mean, they understand.
I know, I'm slow today. I've been here a long time, and your brain sometimes short circuits when you do this. You've just said this is not easy, and I'm proving it.
Well, you certainly are.
You know, you think...
It's easier than that.
Then I'm making it look at the present time. Sometimes you have to make it look difficult to justify with them paying you each week, so sometimes I stumble around and make it look extremely hazardous. What were we talking? We're talking something about...
I don't know.
Retirement. No, during the commercial.
Oh, I had mentioned to you, I'm sort of identified. I got a letter from a young girl when I'm doing the show, and she said, my parents said they saw you in Bridgeport, Connecticut about 15 years ago. I had done a concert there, and she said, I didn't realize you did anything before the Bob Newhart show.
Isn't that strange when you go the cycle again?
But she was like 15 or 16 years old, and there's no reason she shouldn't, and it kind of shocked me. And so I would like to do a routine. Now, this is not one of the ones I'm maybe identified with.
The classics.
Well, I wouldn't call them classics.
Well, I would call them
well,
that.
I told it it's a very difficult job, so I guess
I think some of the
fair
things
for you to say these are
the
classics.
driving instructor, I think the Abraham Lincoln press agent, all those things, the Khrushchev visit, those are classic pieces, really. Those don't come along very often.
Retirement party.
They're great. They're great.
Sir Walter Raleigh.
Those are wonderful. All of those. Some of those you'll be doing at the Frontier, won't you? Opening tomorrow night.
I don't do. This is a thing on. There was an item in the paper, because the funniest things in life are always the true things. I'm sure you found that also. It doesn't matter whether you have or not, I'm going to do it anyway.
That's right. This is just kind of...
Or Doc has.
This is the set. This is the set,
yes.
right.
This is the set, what we call a set. There was an item in the paper that they had actually, the United States government had given $300 to witch doctors because they had found out that there was some validity to some things witch doctors had been doing for years. And the routine is based on a witch doctor functioning as a doctor in the United States might function.
All right.
So, phone me. It's about 3 in the morning. I hope this works.
I do, too. Because it's a classic.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, yes, Mrs. Crumba? No, that's all right. I would have been getting up in 5-6 more hours anyway. What seems to be the problem? The sheep are dying and your son is seeing demons. There's a lot of that going around. I wouldn't worry about it. It sounds like a 24-hour curse to me. I tell you what, do you have any bark of a tree that was struck by lightning in the light of a full moon around the house? Yeah, you might grind some of that up and put it under his pillow tonight. Yeah. And then call me in the morning if he isn't feeling better. I'll tell you what, you might try burying him under a tree where a lot of hyenas congregate. Well, it won't help them, but sometimes their laughter becomes infectious and it might cheer him up. Gee, I'm sorry, Mrs. Krum, but I don't make house calls anymore. Well, I tell you what, I haven't danced around a hut in so long, I really don't think I... Well, they're very similar dances, and one is a rain dance, and it might rain for 3 or 4 days, so I'd be afraid to try it, you know? Well, if he isn't better by Wednesday, let me give you a number, 452-0617. No, that isn't the office, that's the country club, yeah.
That's funny. Funny premise. Funny premise. We'll be back. We have a word here, and then stay with us. George Siegel will join us, Elliot Gould, Teresa Brewer, and Monty Rock. We are back. And if you just join us, we have the irrepressible Mr. Buddy Hackett with us tonight,
Yeah.
Charlie Callis, Dr. Keith Sennert.
Saynert.
Excuse me.
Saynert.
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 The doctor is with us. And we'll see us
Sometime.
presently. And Ross Clark and this lady, whom I really adore. She was a superstar, I think, before that word was used out here in Hollywood, and she's really kind of been away from the screen for about 8 years. But if you've seen any of her pictures, she's an incredible actress. Here's some: Roman Holiday, Sabrina Fair, Funny Face, Love in the Afternoon, Breakfast at Tiffany's, The Nun Story, My Fair Lady, and we could sit here and read a long list. And this is the first time she's been on the show. And would you believe I'm a little nervous?
Yes?
Really? What?
Not to put you down at all. I mean, I would believe that because I would feel the same way. She's kind of very, very special.
She's a special lady.
She's delicate.
Not you. Yes, that's the word I was going to use.
Delicate.
Delicate. Would you welcome, please, Miss Audrey Hepburn. How are you?
All right.
You
How
looked super last night.
Yeah.
You really did. I must tell you, my wife, Joanna, whom you met briefly the other night
have
at
a
Swiftly
beautiful
Lazard.
wife.
Thank you. She is beautiful, isn't she?
Lovely.
She is an unabashed fan of yours. Absolutely. She wanted me to tell you that.
Thank you.
Privately. Now I've done it publicly. It'll probably embarrass her. But you gave that show last night a lovely, lovely quality about it. And you don't appear too much in public anymore, do you? I mean, you've been away from the screen for what, really, about
About
8 years?
8 years.
And now you've done Robin and Marian with Sean
Right.
Connery.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you miss it at all? I mean,
Well, I had so many other things to do, which I liked so much. I didn't really miss it, no.
yeah. I would guess
It was
you're
fun,
rather. I would guess you're a rather private person, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And can stay away from.
That's why I'm sitting here with everyone.
Well, no. Well, we were delighted you're here. I have not seen Robin and Marian yet, but from the people I've talked with who have seen, they
You can see it tomorrow.
Really? Is it official opening tomorrow?
Tomorrow, everywhere.
All over the country?
All of the country.
Yeah. This is back in Robin and Marian. You're talking about Robin Hood and Maid Marian, right?
That's right.
What?
Do you always do the gesture when you say his name? The little bow and arrow gesture? I think that's nice. Robin Hood. I think that's good.
I was just saying that for a moment, as I told you, I was a little nervous having Audrey here today, and I was trying to think of Robin
Call him
Hood.
Robin
I'm
Bow
much
and
more
Arrow.
nervous than you.
No, and I couldn't
You're
think of...
used to this. I'm not.
I'm not
Imagine
used to
how
having
I
you here,
feel.
though. How do you feel, really?
Huh? Well, your hands are cold, so am I. Mine are a bit clammy, though.
No, they're not clammy.
No? Okay.
And even if they are, who cares? I met your husband. You're married to a psychiatrist, right?
You think we should hold hands while you talk about my husband?
No, I wondered if because a psychiatrist able to, he may find some deep meaning there that I'm not aware of. They say that it's like being married to a doctor. They say that they find it difficult to handle their own problems sometimes, but having a psychiatrist as a husband, does that mean that if you ever have little spats and frictions, as we've all had in our marriage? I had a live-in psychiatrist who had had an army cot in the garage during my marriages, and we called him at any hour of the day or night. But you know what I'm saying? When you have a little, does he come on kind of strong and saying, because I'm a psychiatrist, therefore I know what is happening here, and you should listen to me?
But surely you know that doctors never take care of their own families, and least of all of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, they're great with their patients, but they don't want to take care of their family.
Yeah. Well, do they try? I mean,
No.
would they have any more insight? You could get too close to it, right?
No, I don't think, I don't think there's any difference in if you were not a psychiatrist.
Yeah. That's
We're
interesting.
just, we're two people, and
Now, we talked about this, and I don't know whether you want to talk about it tonight, but it was in the newspapers. Your husband underwent a near kidnapping some time ago. True?
Right.
That made the papers, and it was kind of frightening. We talked about it briefly the other night at the party. That is
he's all right now, and he's here with me, and he's perfectly well, but it was a terrible shock, yes.
yeah. That's something that seems to be happening, I don't know, more in other countries than it is in this country. I mean, those kind of kidnappings for ransom for some reason.
I don't know what the reason is, but I suppose it's...
And he got clobbered, did he not? Over the...
Yeah. They fortunately did not knock him out.
Right.
He was able to save himself. But
Yeah. Somebody described you once, I think you described yourself as the unbitterest person in the world.
I did.
Yeah.
I have nothing to be bitter about, I guess.
Really? Don't you ever get mad at people? Or...
Oh, that's different, but that's not bitterness. I mean,
Yeah.
you get mad.
What do you call being bitter? I mean,
Bitter? Something rather different. It's being terribly sort of cynical and unhappy about something, which is different than to being angry, perhaps. So.
I find this is probably a cliche again, a lot of cynical people in this town. Do you?
Not particularly, not more than anywhere else.
You're right. See, I go either way. If they say, I said, you're right, I've noticed that. I want to make this easy. I have no argument at all. Now, you've been described as winsome and ladylike, and you've played delicate, as Ed said, you're delicate type of roles.
Didn't you see me try to knock out Sean Connery in the movie?
No, I haven't seen that. Now,
Nothing delicate about that, I sure.
Did you play a kind of a hellcat in this picture?
I nearly knocked him out. He knocks me out, of course, because he's bigger than I am. But I did try.
Well, you know what I'm saying now. I mean, did you ever want to play you were never built up as a sex symbol like some of the ladies in Hollywood have.
Just my luck.
No, you know what I'm saying?
They couldn't.
No, what do you mean they couldn't?
Don't have the figure.
Oh, no, I don't know. I think that's wrong. I mean, not that you don't... No, let me put this in another way. Sex... I know where I'm going. You don't really think that somebody to be sexy has to do with just the outer appearance, seriously, do you?
I wouldn't know about that. I mean, that's up to the others to decide.
Well, what do you think, Ed?
About you, John?
No, not about me. What I'm trying to say is I think sex is an inner quality.
Yes.
A woman can have a lot of sensuality.
Let me tell you, as far as I can see right here, she's a very sexy lady.
And that's what I'm talking about. You see? We got two of us right here tonight.
Yeah.
Let me do this. We're going to come right back. We have a new sponsor tonight. No, it's not a new sponsor. Yes, a new sponsor. I thought it was an old sponsor coming back. We have some of those sometimes. See, you get me all upset and excited here tonight, and I can't do anything. Midland CB radios. And now watch this from C.W. McCall. CB radios from C.W. We are back. Thank you, Doc. We're talking with Aubrey Hepburn. We're both settled down now, right? You said now this wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be.
I had some of your coffee.
Had some of my coffee? It's just coffee. People think for some strange reason that we put alcoholic beverages in here to stimulate us during the show. I do not do that myself. There are
Would you mind?
I won't tell.
You drink this and tell them all what it is.
Well, maybe she doesn't want
You would
to drink out of
believe
here.
this lady.
It's all right. It's terrible. It's tea.
That's right, iced tea. That's all it is. See, now all the terrible things
No
you've
sugar in
implied.
it.
Okay, you want to
sugar.
strike the prop? Now bring out the real stuff? Impressed Audrey at all? Was it fun doing Robin and Marion? Somebody told me that, unlike a lot of pictures where they take a good number of months, it was done on a rather fast pace.
7 weeks.
7 weeks?
Yep, that's fast.
Yeah, that's almost abnormally fast.
But I think movies are being made much faster
Yeah.
now. You know, I think they have faster film and lighter cameras and
Right.
fewer complications than there were once.
Yeah, and where they used to make
At least
everything...
in my day, it used to take longer.
Not even my day. No, but everything was done practically in those days in the studio. They'd create sets. Now funny things are done on location.
Oh, this was all done.
Yeah, so you can move right out and you've got the scene and everything right there.
All in the most beautiful forests
Yeah, where'd you do it?
in Spain, in the north of Spain.
That must be gorgeous. Here's a beautiful country.
Lovely medieval castles that are still there,
Yeah.
which we really photographed. So
We have a film clip, a short excerpt from Robin and Marion. Bobby, why don't you roll that? Watch the monitors here in the studio. We'll give you a short preview. You just jump off of that screen. That's a lovely scene. It's nice to see an old-fashioned love story. Reminds me of my days in Nebraska when we used to go out in the wheat fields.
but you know,
Not quite as romantic as that, unfortunately, but nevertheless, we went into the wheat fields.
that part of the country looks like Nebraska, where you saw the wheat fields.
Yeah?
The miles and miles of wheat.
It's
Nothing
comfy
else.
out there.
Story.
Real comfy. Cornfields are bad. Wheat fields are nice. Somebody told me you also took a tumble making this picture off the horse.
No, I think yes and no. It wasn't off the horse. We were in a covered wagon that turned over in the water. And I don't know if you've ever been in a covered wagon that's toppled over in the water, but it's very hard to get out of.
I would guess
And
so.
the water was not very deep, and it seemed awful silly to drown about a yard of water. But that's what nearly happened.
I thought now most people would think that they would have stunt people or stunt gals who would come in. I guess this wasn't
because
considered that dangerous,
It
and
did not seem, it was not meant to topple over, to turn over, but the level of the ground was uneven, and what was very dangerous is we had a very large horse that panicked and was rearing back on top of us in the water.
You see, now what we've talked about horses?
Right.
So
See,
He was
we have
trying to get out of the water.
We have a continuing argument going. I always say that horses are not the brightest animals in the world, and they will panic in a situation like that.
but they're right to panic. It's not stupid.
See?
A pig would not do that. We have a continuing thing about the horse and the pig. Pigs would not do that. Panic, you say.
Pig wouldn't be there anyway.
Well, you'd look silly going across two pigs pulling a cover.
Come on, pig.
That's right. Move my pig. That's bad. That's silly, of course. But nobody was injured at all, or was the horse injured?
No, we were bumped about a bit, and the horse wasn't injured, no.
Yeah.
But we were okay. We stopped shooting that day.
Yeah. Now, you won an Oscar for Roman Holiday, right? I've heard now a lot of people keep Oscars in strange places. Somebody mentioned the other night they use them as doorstops. True, because they're very heavy. What do you have? Do you have yours in any particular place?
I have it on a shelf in our playroom, and I see it every day. I'm very proud of it.
You should be. It was a super movie. Are you going to... Are you going to be more active in pictures now?
I don't know, because I'm very active, as we've been talking about before, with my life at home.
Right.
So it depends if, there's not so much the time, but the place, because
Right.
pictures today, as you said before, are made all over the world, and it does involve leaving home, which I don't feel like doing.
So if you find something that you like to
if
do,
it's
you
in
might.
some way possible, perhaps near home, then
Just might
perhaps,
consider that.
I can.
Hey, I thank you for coming tonight. I know you don't do many of these shows, and it's a delight to have you here. And you're going to be here for about another week or so, you said, around the country? I thank you for being here. I hope you had fun.
Thank you.
It was a great kick for us.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Rocky. It's real style, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Real style. Lovely lady.
Classy lady.
She was terribly nervous tonight, but so was I. I think for her.
Yeah.
Did I show it at all?
No, you're fine. I like particularly the part when you couldn't
Can I show
remember Robin Hood's last name. I thought that was Robin. I think that's good. It's Robin Hood. I think that's good.
Didn't you ever do that when you
Yes.
can't think of something?
Yeah.
You visualize
Yeah.
it and you Robin Hood, the guy with
Try
the-
this, Mohammed. That's
Okay, we're gonna be back with our guests and some more show. Who do we have as guests, you ask? Well, we have Buddy Hackett, we have
He'll be here.
Charlie Callis, and we have Dr. Keith Sainert.
Say nerd.
Say nerd.
Say nerd. Now, why do you say the accent is on the last syllable?
He likes it that way.
Say nerd.
It's like say nurse, only say nerd.
Well, that's what Freddie is saying. That's what you were saying.
What?
Why don't we find out what the doctor says when he joins us? It's Sainert.
Say nerd.
Why do you keep saying Sainert?
Because sometimes it's say nerd.
No, it's not. Not to the doctor.
According to his book, it is. He's not a doctor all the time.
What does that got to do with it?
It says on the book. Look at the book. What does it say?
By Keith Sainert.
Nobody mean over here.
Nerd.
What?
Sometimes.
I think it's time for a station break. Well, I'm going to ask the doctor when he comes out, because that man should know, because he's a doctor. What do you two guys know? What are we going to do? Commercial first?
Commercial.
Right. Okay, and then we'll be right back here with Buddy Hackett, Charlie Callis, and Dr. Keith Sainert. My first guest, I consider a good friend. He's been with us several times in the past few months, and a most original and creative talent in our business. Would you welcome Mr. Orson Welles? Welcome back. I got to tell you something. I thought about it upstairs tonight. The very first time you were booked on this show, I was really kind of scared. I don't know whether you know that or not. I didn't tell you that because I've always been in somewhat awe of you, and I did not know you at the time.
But we'd been on the same stage together, and no harm had come to you.
That is true. That is no harm. And I was. And then you were on that show the first night, and everything just worked great. And now it's so great to have you here all the time.
Well, I was much more scared than you were, believe
Oh,
me.
come on.
Oh,
No,
sure.
That I won't buy at all.
Well, of course. Of course, anybody's scared to get out in front of the public. I think it's only the people who haven't done it very long
Maybe so.
aren't scared. Just now, for instance, they said I was waiting behind the multicolored curtain, and one of the fellows back there says, well, this must be like old hat to you. You know, because I've been about 4 times
Right.
on the show, and old hat. I was, it was just like an opening night.
I
Nervous
guess
as ever,
performers,
sure.
no matter how much professional they are, and sometimes the more professional, the more uptight they get. I remember reading, and I found it hard to believe that Helen Hayes at one time, when radio, could not stand at a microphone and read a script.
Not true.
Is that not true?
She did 6. It was under contract.
Is there somebody
to
else
do
I'm thinking
6
of?
plays a year from me when I had an hour
Right.
radio show, and she was super professional. She
then I
knew
have the
radio very well.
Then I have the wrong lady, but someone of that
wrong lady,
stature,
somebody like that.
absolutely was petrified to stand there with just the sheets of paper. And
Yeah, a lot of people can't read. You know, reading on radio is another talent.
It is.
Some people can ad lib and some people can't. And some people can read a script and make it sound like they're making it up. And other people take a long time. Larry Olivier, for example, is a terrible radio actor.
But on stage, then...
Well, he needs his 3 or 4 days. His first readings are
I see.
very mysterious. You think, that's Sir Lawrence, is it, you know?
That's
And
unusual.
yes, you see. And I had him on the radio several times. And the first time, we had an old radio actor called Ray Collins who came up to him, said, didn't I see you on Big Sister? That was a soap opera, you know? And he came up to me later, Collins, and says, this poor fellow doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe we better help him out a little.
Lawrence Olivier.
Yes, that's right. Because he was nervous about reading the words off the page, which is a special thing.
I drive home now after the show, and one of the stations out here has been playing a lot of the old radio broadcasts. Suspense and a lot of the original comedy shows and drama shows, the Lux Radio Theater. And you realize what a wonderful medium radio really was when it was done well.
Dramatically, it was, I don't think there's any medium better, because it, first of all, it did what television doesn't do. It made people listen and pay attention, because as we are talking, the great majority of our public may well be wandering about the room or up to something else.
Well,
But on radio, they couldn't follow it at all unless they were really following it.
That's true, and the imagination really had to take over. And that's why a lot of things on television they could never do as well. For example, I don't think on a television show they could do a really horror or mystery type of thing as well.
No, because your own imagination would do it.
Because they can't create those special effects that's in the mind all the time when you hear it.
Oh, yes.
Those were great days.
I had intended to bring a little magical illusion with me, and I put it in the wrong jacket.
No magic tonight?
So no magic tonight, and I had also told myself that I would do what Mrs. Temple used to tell Shirley before every take, and I find I'm not doing it. Do you know what she used to say?
No.
This is really true. Just as they put that slate on, you know, take number 4, whatever
Right.
it is, Littlest Rebel. She'd say, "Sparkle, Shirley." Sparkle, Shirley. So that's what I told myself behind the curtain. Sparkle, Orson.
Like one of the programs, a smile now. Let's see some of that. That's funny. I got a couple other things I want to ask you that I wasn't going to get to. But it might be fun for the next time you come. I want to.
Am I leaving?
No. No, you're not. Well, you're sparkling. I want you to get some of those scripts you have, and bring them if you have them, and let's show the people how difficult or how unusual it is to read a dramatic thing. And
We can do a suspense show here.
and set it up, and we'll get the sound
That's
effects
right.
and actually
Let's do it.
recreate.
But do it seriously.
Do it straight.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Right.
All
And
right.
it'll be very funny.
All right, no, it'll be serious. We'll be right back. More sparkling in just a moment. We're back. Orson and I. Orson just suggested during the break, the thing would be most apropos would be the shadow, which you did on radio.
Yep.
The Shadow. Remember that
One of the
series?
things
Now, in those days, it was interesting. The shows were live on radio, most of them. Some of them were transcribed.
No, network shows had to be live
But they
by law.
Right.
The only transcribed shows were syndicated shows and local ones.
And you would play like maybe 5, 6, or 7 different shows, like in New York City, playing different characters on each one, right?
Yes, and I found out that you can hire an ambulance in New York without being sick.
Now, I didn't know that.
So I used to go from CBS to NBC and back again in an ambulance so I could get through the traffic in order to get from one soap opera to another, you know? And I wouldn't know what I was going to play. They'd hold an elevator open for me. I'd come in. They'd say, Studio 3. I'd go into Studio 3. They'd hand me a piece of paper. I'd say, what is it? And they'd say, 70-year-old Chinaman. And we're on the air. I didn't know how it turned out, what happened, anything. I was a 70-year-old
And you
Chinaman.
just go right
See,
into
we're
it.
talking about first readings. That's radio reading.
Well,
and, of course, radio actors like myself, that first reading is the best one. We haven't got anything better after that.
You just go do it. What would happen when you do a fluff? Now, there had to be times when the lines would...
Oh, yes, we had, I remember one morning, we used to do a show in my poorest days in radio when I had only one show to live on. Joe Cotton and I were both living on $18.50 a week, which was the fee for this. It was on what's called sustaining, and it was the School of the Air.
The School of the Air.
The School of the Air. And one morning it was about the Olympic Games in Greece. And the lady authoress, an unmarried woman in her late 60s, was sitting in this tiny studio with an organ and the rest of little cast of 6, and we picked up the script, pretty badly hungover, I may say, and went on the air live with dialogue that went like this. Ah, Pythias, you have the biggest lance in all Athens. Can you throw it over your shoulder? Let me see your discus, you know. And all perfectly clean, unbleepable stuff, but we were only about 6 minutes into it when they had to just play organ music. We were all on the floor because the spinster lady didn't know why. We thought it was all so dirty. And when we finally came to a line where I had to say, barrels and barrels of pith.
Organ music up and out.
Organ music, and I never worked for School of the Air again, nor did Joe Cotton. We starved for a month.
Off the School of the Air.
We were written out.
They did wonderful things in those days, and not all the stories are apocryphal. They're true.
The craziest are true.
They undressed Bill Stern once, you know that
Oh,
story?
yes, I was there.
Well, Bill Stern was one of the great sportscasters of all times, and he was at NBC, I think, at the time, and somebody went out to a studio tour, and while he's on the mic, they removed his trousers.
Oh, yes.
Now, there's nothing he can do. He is on the air.
That was Frank Reddick.
They're pulling his trousers down, and he's saying, in the meantime, the score on the Browns.
Right.
They pulled his trousers off. Now they go out into the hall, and there's a studio tour, and say, by the way, you better drop by 8H. Stern's doing the sports. And all these people walk by the window where he was sitting there in his shorts doing the thing. Wonderful things like that. Setting the script on fire was an old device, wasn't it?
Yes, and then we used to do a lot of shows in front of an audience, all dressed up in evening clothes. I never knew quite why.
Give it a dramatic flair,
you know, the Philip Morris hour and things like that. And we had a very dramatic director called Charles Martin, who used to give very dramatic cues, and he was, you know, the Toscanini of the radio
directors. So the audience would be aware he's
and
there.
he'd see him in his dinner jacket doing all of this. And I used to repeatedly pretend to drop my script and lose my pages before it came to my time in order to spoil his act. You see, because I'd drop all the pages and we'd all be picking them up saying, oh, that isn't it, must be this, and so on. Then while he was looking away, I'd get the real script out of my pocket, you see.
That could be heart attack time.
Yeah, heart attack time. But he gave us a rough time during rehearsals, so we felt he had it coming to us. But it was very funny. Sponsors in those days. Over and over again, radio actors would be barred forever, not allowed ever again to work on a show because it was a Camel show and they opened up a package of Chesterfields or something.
That's how seriously they took it at that time.
Just the package in your hand, blackballed forever. In radio, a medium where nobody could see anything.
I remember once when I was in radio in the Midwest, the favorite device there was because we didn't have a news editing staff or anything. We would just, pull it off the teletype, and the AP or UP would come in on the yellow sheets of paper, and the radio announcer, Ed knows this, would tear it off, and you go into the news, and you read what the stories are. They would type in, they would get a sheet, and in the middle of the news, they would type in some horrendous, obscene story that you didn't know the end of it until you were about halfway through, and then, of course, your eyes would drop down, and you'd say, in Cedar Rapids, Iowa today, Mr. William Scranton went into the barn, and all of a sudden you'd see what's coming. And you'd say, we'll be back to that story in a moment, but first, terrible things like that.
Yes.
But you would be halfway through the story before you realized you'd been had.
We had an announcer, I had for years, I had a show for Campbell Soup, which was called the Campbell Playhouse, and we had an announcer called Chappell.
Ernest Chappell.
Ernest Chappell had a very earnest and dramatic voice, and he used to rehearse his commercials very seriously, and there was a running line for a year, which was, as sure as you like chicken, you like Campbell's chicken soup. Now, I had been sent by somebody
They're reading
a copy
along.
of the Poulterer's Gazette, in which Campbell Soup was advertising for Old Roosters. Now, as a matter of fact, roosters make the best soup on very old chickens, but we didn't know that. We thought it was funny. So I had my cast every week in dress rehearsal while Chappell was saying, "You like Campbell's chicken soup," we were saying rooster soup right along with him. And he would say, "Now, fellows, you know I'm going to go on the air and I'm going to say rooster." He did.
He did.
That's what's called is the pre-psyching somebody out until you get them absolutely mad. Now, you know the famous story. This is fun tonight. This is just fun and reminiscing. You know the famous story that George Burns did to Jack Benny? It had to do with Jeanette MacDonald, did it not, Freddie?
I don't know it.
It's a wonderful story, and it shows you how you can psych somebody out. Apparently, Jeanette MacDonald and her husband threw lovely parties, but inevitably, before the evening was over, somebody would ask Jeanette MacDonald to sing, which she would. And if they didn't,
she had somebody hired who would.
You know, because she wanted to sing. So George used to say to Jack Benny, 3 days before the party, he'd say, "Jack, when Jeanette MacDonald gets up to sing at the party, don't laugh. It would be very embarrassing." He'd call him the next day. "Jack, you know, somebody's going to ask Jeanette to sing. I would be very embarrassed if you laughed while she..." Sure enough, so they're at the party and somebody says, "Jeanette, would you sing a song?" And Jack goes right out. It was all over. He was physically unable not to explode with laughter.
I know that's true, as it sounds like George for one thing.
He was.
And Jack also was, you could get him quicker than anybody who ever lived.
Was a great patsy for George.
Oh, he was one of the only great comedians who really enjoyed other comedians.
Right, he did.
You do too, but they're so rare, the people, the really good comedians who, because of that false laugh, if you've ever watched them.
Oh, trying to break up.
Yes, no, that's right. Hang on a second.
I like your
I
Ernest,
used that in Grossingers in 1939.
I like your Ernest Chappell reading of the chicken soup. What is that again? It's
as sure as you like chicken, you like Campbell's chickens, rooster, chicken, rooster.
Oh, I got another story. I got another one come to mind. Oh, this is more fun. Ed Hurley, one night. I've told a story on the air before. Ed Hurley, who does the Kraft cheese commercials and has for years of the Kraft Playhouse, had the actor Seshua Hayakawa, and they had fit in. He's in the booth.
You know you're in trouble now.
No, he's absolutely... And, of course, Ed Hurley has this wonderful rhythm in his voice, and he's just finished How to Make This Wonderful Cheese and send for the booklet and 50 Ways to Prepare Kraft Cheese. And you know he's in the booth sitting like this, and it's the end of... The credits are coming over the crawl. And Ed Hurley, he says, "Next week, we have the bridges of so-and-so and so-and-so starring that magnificent actor, Seshua Hayakawa." And you heard this. He said, "I mean, of course, Seshua Hayakawa." And now you hear just a little bit of it in the booth. And Ed now comes on to try to really bail himself out. And he says, "You'll have to excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, but I've always had a little problem with that name. But, of course, I'm talking about Seshua Hayakawa." He did it 3 times in a row, and I fall out of the chair. I am absolutely... By then it was all... He couldn't get it if Hayakawa was there. He couldn't have got it.
I had a show called The Cornstarch. I was the voice of Cornstarch.
Oh, you're putting me on now.
I kid you not, and it was one of my first really good jobs because it was 5 days a week, $75 a time. All I had to come in was read a poem while the singing strings of somebody or other played, and I'd read this thing. And I had to write a little thing about the poem before I would read it. It was a 15-minute spot for the housewife at noon. And I had been up about 3 nights without being to sleep for overwork, as you may imagine. And came in one day, and it was a poem they picked for me by Robert Browning, and I couldn't understand what it was about. And I didn't know what to say about it. And I remembered a line from a play that I'd been in, The Barretts of Wimpole Street with Cornell, when she says to Browning, who was a character in the play, "What does this poem mean?" And he says... kind of a funny line that he really said in life. When this was written, only God and Robert Browning know what it meant. Now only God does. So I thought, I'll say this. The ladies will enjoy it. So on singing strings. And all the sponsors, and the smaller a show was, the more sponsors would be in a
of course,
in a room, you know, were gathered. And I said, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This poem puts me in mind of what the author said originally, that when this was written, only Bob and Grabbit breeding." music. When Grot was written, only Grobert Britting. Music continued. When Grob and Bribbid... When God was written, only Brob and Vit and Gritting. And then I saw all of these faces, purple and black, staring at me. And I just put down the script, walked out of the studio, and never saw them again.
Never saw. Oh, that's wonderful.
No way.
So once you're into it, there is no way to recover except leave and come another day. Hey, I thank you. I understand you have to leave early.
I have to leave early, and I have to say, you made a remark there that there were two people by the name of Orson Welles.
That's true.
And, I mean, by the name of Orson. And, of course, neither of those statements is true.
Who's another person named Orson?
You see, there is nobody named Orson. It's like saying, you know, they make champagne in Argentina. Figure that one out.
Robert Browning, Dahlman.
Yes. No, there is a deep message in that, because the very talented fellow, and I wish you weren't, who's following me
Right.
with this name,
Orson Bean.
you know, was really born with a very straight name. His name is actually Wilmot Entwistle.
I don't buy that at all.
Well, it's a name like that. Ask it.
Wilmot Entwistle?
It's a name like that. Ask. What happened was, in those days, Bob, they used to use my name on radio just to make people laugh. They used to think Orson was that funny. And maybe it still is. And this fellow, Wilmot...
Wilmot Entwistle?
Yes, Entwistle or Bracegriddle, whatever it may be. Deciding at the beginning of his career that since he didn't know any good material, he'd better come out with a funny name.
Took up Orson.
Invented Orson Bean.
Do you know anybody else besides you and Orson Bean named Orson?
His name isn't Orson.
Well, I mean... well, professionally it is, but do you know anybody else?
No. No, and there'd better not be.
Thanks for coming. I have known Johnny Winters for about 17 years, and I have never ceased to be amazed at his talent. He's genuinely a funny man. And he has his own television show syndicated around the country. And on April 6th, he will be up at the Sahara Tahoe. Would you welcome, please, Jonathan Winters. Hello, John.
Oh, gosh.
Pretty thrilling, huh?
Well, it is. I wore my new sweater. New for me. It was in a fire sale, and I grabbed it up. I'm not proud. A lot of my things are used. The shoes I bought those in the same sale. Not ashamed of that.
No.
It was a fire sale, and that's about all there is to that.
I gotta tell him what you did to me. You may not even remember this. Remember when Jack Parr was doing the old CBS morning show?
Right.
I think that's the first time you were really
Yes.
ever appeared on television, about 1955, 56. And we did it out at Grand Central Station. And we did two shows, one at 7 o'clock, which played in the East. And then at 8 o'clock, the Midwest and West would join the network. And then you had to go back and repeat the first hour of the show live for the West Coast again. And I'd met you the first time then. And I was back there filling in for Robert Q. Lewis on a daytime show. And you called me at a hotel once. You won't remember this at all.
There are a lot of things.
But I remember that you... I know there are many things you have
I don't
done.
remember.
That are a little dim.
My mind has failed me a number of times.
But on this particular thing, I was staying at a little cheap hotel back there. A real cheap hotel.
Yes, right.
And I got this call one day, and it was from you, although I didn't know it at the time. And I was just finishing up the show. I said, Johnny Carson? I said, yes. He says, Mr. Weldon, I'm with J. Walter Thompson advertising agency in here in New York. My ears, just the whole scalp went up. And he says, we are doing some commercials for the Buick Company. I remember it so well. And he says, we'd like you to be our spokesman. And, of course, there's $2,000 in it and a new Buick. And right then, $1 would have been, didn't have any money. And I knew that you knew that I had to go back to California. I had to come back and do a show I was doing, and I wouldn't be there. So I started to do, little disclaimers like, I'd love to do it, Mr. Weldon, and then you started to get nasty. Just a little bit. Well, what do you mean you can't do it? That's the trouble with you California guys. You come into town, give you a job, and you don't want to stay. And then you got really angry. And I'm practically dying. And I could have killed you at that time. And then he said, that's Johnny Winters. And I could see the Buick just flying away. And I'd already spent the $2,000 on the house driving the car. You did little cutie things, didn't you?
Well, I still call guys up, and I still answer the phone as different people. I love to do that. One of my favorite stories, I love to, maybe, be an old person, and someone will say, hello, is Jonathan Winters there? And I'll say, no, the boy is in the basement. He's combing the kitty. Say, well, who's this? Well, I'm just an old man who wanders around his house. And a lot of times you get odd reactions from people at the other end. But one of my favorite stories was, I've told it before, but it is a fun story. Several years ago, a number of years ago, I'd gone back to Ohio to see my mother and my stepfather and several relatives. And it was at Christmas time, and all of us were feeling no pain. My stepmother, my stepfather was certainly in rare form. And my mother had had a few, and I'd had several. And,
A drink of your choice.
Yes. A little touch of the grape. And like many people who imbibe in drinks, you get telephonitis and want to call the world. And so I wanted to call a friend of mine, and his name was Art Lytle, and he and I had gone to school together, and he was a funeral director. And so I called him, and I assumed a character, and I knew that he hadn't seen me or heard my voice in a long, long time. So I knew I was home free. And I called him up, and he owned and still does to this day, the Jackson Lytle Funeral Home in Springfield. And so I said, "Hello, is Mr. Arthur Lytle Jr. there?" And he said, "Yes, speaking." And I said, "Is this Arthur Lytle Jr.?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, this is Elwood P. Suggins, and I live out on the Lakewood Beach area. And my brother passed away here Sunday week, and I was wondering if you could do a job on it." And there was a long pause. And he said, "How long did you say he'd been dead?" I said, "Well, he passed away here Sunday week." And he said, "Good Lord, man, where have you got him?" And I said, "Well, most of our people are from Boise, and I didn't want them to have him come that far just to look at grass, you know. So what we did, we put him out there on the porch and set him up against the lattice. And cold spell set in, just kept him harder than a cart. However, the other day, sun come out, and he commenced to get fleshy. And his face dropped a little bit, and but I tell you, Mr. Lytle, even in death, there's humor. My eldest boy, Lamar Jean, twisted the deceased hand around and put a softball in it. Well, Lytle lit into me. He said, "Good heavens, I've never heard anything like this." So then of course, I broke in. I said, "Well, it's Johnny Winters," and he said a few things. Those are some of the little things that
What is the wildest thing you've ever done?
The wildest thing?
Yeah, that you remember. No, the reason I can say that is because we know each other.
Yes.
We have spent some evenings together.
Oh, a number of good evenings.
When we had been talking to
Yes.
bushes at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I remember.
I guess, I'm trying to think the wildest thing I ever did. Well, I remember one story very well. I was sitting, this was back east, I was back in New York. You were talking about an advertising agency, made me think about this. And telephone rang, and I went to the telephone, and I decided I would become a character, as I just mentioned. And a man said, "Hello, is Jonathan Winters there?" And I said,
That little funky man's on a little tractor, and he's out in the backyard cutting some grass. So he said, who's this? And I said, this is Sam. Who are you? And he said, well, this is Mr. Cavendish, and I'm with Ben and Bowles or something, and I'd like to talk to Mr. Winters. He said, you mean Johnny? Let me see if I can find Roundo. So, gee, you're going to see this guy at the other end of the phone. So I then shifted my voice. I said, hey, Roundo, come on in. There's a phone call for you. Get on it. So I said, hello, this is Jonathan Winters. And then the guy at the other end said, who was that I was talking to? I said, I'm on the phone, too. It's fun to do these little voices.
Yes.
Upset a few people.
Here's Ed to tell you about a great new opportunity to try one of the most remarkable vacuum cleaners ever made. We're back. My guests tonight are Joan Rivers, Judy Collins, and Johnny Winters. Your syndicated show has been renewed, I hear, and you're going to do something else on CBS?
Yeah,
We can mention that.
I hope we can.
Of course.
Because the networks, they can stand that, I think. I always know there's a little friction, you know, between the three, but what the heck, they're all making a lot of bread. I start doing my little show. It's a half hour, and it will start on CBS here in Los Angeles, 7:30 to 8, around the middle of April. I don't have the exact date. I hope it'll be around the middle of April. That's what they promised me that. And then I'm going back east to New York on Monday, and it'll be back there. It'll start. It's already in Philadelphia, in your hometown, Big Ed. And I was discharged, you know, in Philadelphia.
Good.
Yeah,
Fellow Marine.
fellow Marine.
That's right, you were
I was
in
a
the Marines.
corporal. He was a colonel.
Yes, that's right. I remember.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of difference there. Rarely do you guys mingle with the enlisted guys, right? Right, kid? Oh, well.
You didn't like the service, if I remember. We sat around talking about that several nights.
No, I got along fairly well in the service.
No.
I was always disturbed because I didn't know where I was. And unless you're an officer, you see, you're not clued in. And you're not given the top papers, which I felt I should have had at least 1 or 2 papers. And I kept asking questions, which is always trouble. Running up to a captain, you know, or a colonel like yourself and saying, where are we, sir? None of your business. Move out. And I was always moving out. I was frightened a great deal of the time. I was frightened of the guys. I didn't understand a lot of them. They didn't understand me. I was kidding all the time, you know. I'd be in grandma 1 minute. And, hi, honey, you know.
That would,
a lot of guys didn't understand.
That would shake up a barracks late
and
at
I
night.
turned,
Yes.
I'll never forget, to a bird colonel, and did a voice on him, which I'll never forget. And I said, oh, sir, what is your name?
Little sense of humor.
Don't do that in the Marines very often. So I was misunderstood a great deal of time. But I got out eventually. I knew I would. I had good feelings about that. And I got out. I spent 2.5 years, and then I wandered around aimlessly, looking for odd jobs. And being odd, I found a lot of odd work.
We were talking about the first thing people ever remember. Judy remembers at 2 years old or 3 and 4. Do you remember back that early when you were a kid? To 3 and 4 years?
Back to 1.
To 1?
I remember the beads on the ankle. Oh, remember the blue beads and the nurse putting them on it? No, that's pretty far back. No, I remember. I'd have to go along with the girls. I remember back about 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 3 or 4, and I was an only child, as you know, Johnny.
Yes,
but,
sir.
I didn't have any brothers or sisters, and that
Was it lonesome?
It was for a while. And then I realized that any goodies that would be handed over to me.
But no, I was an unusual child, you know. You can imagine.
Yes.
I was frightening old people a lot, you know, scaring them on the porch or something like that. And doing in class, I was a slow student. I was dumb.
That's what they used to call him. He's slow.
Teachers, yeah, the teachers would say the boy's slow. But I was, you can imagine, a little girl next to me, somebody like yourself, I go, and the girl would laugh and then point at me and say, Johnny Winter's doing things, Johnny Winter's doing things. And I'd run out and jump through the window or something. But no, I was not a very good student. I had very poor concentration. And I was scared to death of the blackboard. There was something about to me, nothing today scares me like when the teacher would say, I remember we had Miss Metzger, who was a very unusual woman. I don't want to go into a long story. She was tough and could have made a sergeant easily. And I was frightened of her, and she knew that, and she took advantage of that, I felt. And she would say, John Winters, talk like a man to me a lot. That's unfair, but she sounded sometimes like very, very strong. And she said, go to the board. And I said, yes, Miss Metzger, I'll go to the board. And I was always turning to a student. And because I never knew where I was never prepared. And give me the answer, quick. And I'll never forget, there was a guy called Alden Sonander. There's an
Alden Sonander.
Alden Sonander turned to me and he said, we learn by doing. And, I killed him at recess.
We learn by doing.
There's
always one of those in every
always one
grade
of those
school,
guys.
yes.
And bless his heart, he was a very bright student. He was the brightest guy in our class. I always remember that. He was pages and pages ahead of everybody. And I was pages and pages behind everybody. Many days, I remember, it seemed like I was sick a great deal of the time because I wanted to be. And on warm, sunny days, I always had a cold. And Mother, I shouldn't go. And she'd grab me like this, you know, and place me on the bicycle. Ow. And, right to school. A lot of times I roller skated. That was fun. Remember roller skating?
Sure.
Yeah. Roller skated and rode the bicycle. Walked, ran.
Happy childhood, though.
Happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Fairly happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was broke a lot of, you know. That's not fun when you're broke all the time.
That's right.
But I would lay for people in bushes and...
What were some of the jobs you did before you got into...
Some of the jobs I did?
Yeah, before you started... Started getting into show business.
Oh, some of the jobs I did? I worked in a theater. I was an usher in a theater.
So was I once, yeah.
Before I even got out of high school, I was an usher.
That's what I did.
And I worked in a place called the, I think, gosh, I'm trying to think of the bar. Well, anyway, I remember it was a circular stage. And I was going around on that thing and doing little funnies, and I got something like $25 for the weekend and all I could drink and eat. And then I went into the service when I was 17, came out, and then I did a lot of things. One thing I always remember, I worked for the Coca-Cola bottling company. I was an inspector. And looking for dead mice and marbles. I sat on a little stool, you know, with a neon light, and did this, and just watched bottles all day long. And then I picked apricots and picked potatoes, shucked corn. You probably did that in Nebraska.
Sure.
And I worked. I was a fry cook in the Yellowstone.
The Yellowstone Park?
Oh yeah, in the Yellowstone National Park. And worked 9 o'clock at night till 5 in the morning, cooking steaks and hamburgers and just little short order things.
You've done a lot of things.
For the what do they call them? I can never remember the guys. Park attendants.
Rangers.
Yes. Yeah. That kept people from the bears and things. But I did a lot of cooking. I think most of us have done odd,
weird things,
unusual jobs.
We have to do something here?
What are you doing here now?
Well, we're going to sell a little something.
Oh, good.
And then Dr. Stillman will come out and...
Dr. Stillman will come out and help us.
So we can use it.